Let me say a hearty good Wednesday morning to one and all. It's the 31st day of December 2025, the final day within the month of December, the final day within the year 2025. Good morning and welcome to one and all, especially those of you viewing GBN TV, those of you listening to Classic Radio. Good morning and welcome. It's to the point. And once again, let me take the time out and say good morning to the all run Redhead with me this morning.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, GT, thank you very much. And season's greetings to each and every one. Happy old year. I know tomorrow or later it would be a new day. So I want to take the opportunity, if I don't get that chance early into next year, to wish everybody all the best for 2026 and the start of 2026.
Yes, you know, a few weeks ago we were saying we're going to be Christmas coming.
Yeah.
A few days ago, of course, the last time you were saying, hey, you know, like you said, all season greetings. So, of course, the folks over there, Christmas coming now, Christmas has already left.
Yes.
You know, of course, some folks who are still in the celebratory mood still celebrate Christmas.
True.
And now we're thinking, in a couple hours from now, what will be like for 2026. Thinking about a new year.
Very much so.
Time flies, eh?
Yes, indeed.
Time flies. You know, I want to take your time out before we go through. Of course, we have done numerous programs throughout the years, and you know, it's always a pleasure.
Yes, man.
You know, having you on the program and conversing among ourselves, and you know, it's always been a pleasure doing that with you.
Yes, man. I appreciate it, and you know, I just want to thank the team at GBN, yourself included, for the accommodation. I think you know, the conversation, the dialogue, having public officers account, so to speak, to the people is very important, and it's the role of the Fourth Estate and GBN. You keep up the good job.
All right, thank you. Oh, so our conversation this morning, you know, it's end of the year. I think we go ease up a bit, as some folks would say. You know, have things roll out in a particular way, but there's always information that folks still would like to gather. Yeah. There's always the option of where folks would like to have that bit of a preview of how things been for that, you know, last couple of months, weeks, days, if you could check it in that particular way. And you know, and what's to come for the new year, sir? Right. You know, I want to talk about, you know, what are the highlights in your mind for 2025. And it goes back, I want to take it in phases of an ABC. Let's say for the administration, the NDC administration, some of the highlights for 2025. The NDC administration. Right. For NDC as a party also, sir. And for Grenada as a whole.
No, I think, you know, achieving a number of initiatives key to the development of the health sector is critical, is paramount. We can look at the Ministry of Education as well. Some key achievements took place there. Unfortunately, the time may not permit me to itemize every single initiative, but I would just speak to, for example, the Monroe University. The rollout of that, I think it is going pretty okay. I am very happy that people, first gen, people who never got the opportunity in their family, is going to get that opportunity now free, of course, of cost to them, in partnership with Monroe University and the government of Grenada. And the Ministry of Education, again, has achieved many things, including the laptops, among other initiatives that they so desperately need to distribute throughout the school systems. I think there's always room for improvement, but by and large, those, I would say, are some main highlights. I would also say, as an administration in the area of sports, the preparation or the commencement of the Indo Aquatic Center is critical and paramount. The lighting of the National Cricket Stadium, again, it's going to augur well for us. It has the potential to introduce a CPL team potentially. Hopefully by next year we can see some international games returning, and also introduction of night cricket. This is going to help the economy in a big way. It is going to help bring life back to Grenada, and not just for international cricket, but for our own local Cricket Association here. It's going to augur well, and you know, we look forward to that. So if I am to just start with those three, in the area of construction, we have seen some successes, completion of a number of projects, and even at the community level, indeed it augurs well as highlights. The commencement of the UK Safe Water project, again, this is going to go well because potentially next year may be a dry season, and it's important for us to be resilient in the water sector as well, not only from an infrastructure standpoint. The wrapping up or winding down of the restoration work in Karakou, Petit Martinique, to an extent as well, it augurs well for us, and it is an achievement because, this is 1 year post Hurricane Beryl, in a sense, and we are seeing tremendous strides being made to recover, and not just recover in its simplistic form or as we have done in the past, but to do it a lot better, improving the infrastructure, the homes, quality of the homes that are being given out, and in terms of the intent of the government as to where we expect things to go and what we can look forward to, I think it augurs well.
All right. Now, what are you as the MP for St. George Northeast looking forward to for 2026? When I say that, I'm talking, from your constituency, the parish of St. George. We're talking also for Grenada and for your personal level in life. Talk to me in reference to that. What are you looking forward for 2026?
Well, I think we look forward to a continuation of service. Probably we need to improve the community level of service. I would like to see more community type leaders coming forward with good initiatives being backed by the Member of Parliament, the government by extension, and anyone who is interested in advancing the cause of the people in Grenada. I think going forward, what we need to spend a lot more time on is to fight the poverty, the unemployment, the social ills. Those must be our causes as to what we seek to eradicate, and to utilize our capacity collectively to do that. So I'm looking forward to a more organized approach to our development, notwithstanding that we have come a very long way in terms of what the government is doing in various sectors, but a more organized approach which involves, in a greater sense, people and people's involvement. Just take the instance, for example, with the roadside parking. I can confidently report that the Ministry of MIT, the RGPF, the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Solid Waste Management, they have commenced discussions, dialogue to ensure that this will be something that will be heavily tackled into 2026 to ensure that we maintain the freedom in terms of the flow of traffic on our roadsides. We need to talk to our roadside mechanics genuinely, not in any aggressive manner, but genuinely. The problem can't continue because it's posing significant challenges for motorists and even pedestrians just trying to get to and fro, and so it contributes to the congestion of traffic. So I'm looking forward to a more collaborative effort in 2026.
Right, great. You mentioned that organized approach, and you spoke for it on different levels. When you say organize in a way, how you plan to tackle that in particular?
Communities. So take, for example, if we, God forbid, we are under threat in any way, shape or form, disaster-wise for next year, how do we respond to it? We can't only simply wait on central government at the top level. I think people now need to mobilize. And just take, for example, the health of our people. Individuals. You can't wait on the Ministry of Health. You can't wait on the hospital to tell you to do something. You yourself need to know that, when you go out in public spaces, you have to be cautious. You can't touch things all over the place and then put your hands in your mouth and so on. You will easily get sick. And then you can also bring it home to a family member, elderly or a young child. So that personal responsibility into the wider fight and cause is what I am referring to, and I say this with the greatest level of appreciation that a lot of people do try their best to do good things and contribute meaningfully, but sometimes just that facilitation from the national level, from whatever level, the community level, is just not there enough or sufficiently to do that. So I would like to see greater attention being placed on that for us as a people, as Grenadians, to make things where it is. And I could use the example of Spice Mass. Spice Mass by itself is not a product that the Spice Mass board alone is responsible for. It is the contribution of everybody, artists, you name it. Everybody contributing, even the regular man on the street helping to play that role. And so all of us now need to work together. But I think the key thing is to know and understand the role and to be able to function in the role and get the job done, so to speak, collectively. So I would like to see greater cooperation in 2026 to achieve.
You slipped on that responding to me on that. I was also asking on a personal level in your life. What are you looking forward to in 2026?
Well, I continue to live, give God thanks for life, serve, in whatever capacity I can, and to just continue contributing to the everyday development of people in St. George Northeast and Grenada by extension. I am not one to, I don't write down a wish list for Christmas. I don't have any goals per se for 2026. I continue and I do what I have to do in my capacity. You might try to ask me on a more personal note, what is it that I am looking forward to? As I say, I'm looking forward to continue serving and, completing degrees, doing what I have to do. I should be, once all goes well for next year, I'll go and pursue another degree once God's spare life.
All right, great. We drew for a break. Let's take it when we come back. We continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the point, Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back after the break. Don't touch it out.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
Records at the traffic department shows that a total of 1,447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities. 2,946 accidents were reported for the year 2022, which includes 8 road fatalities. This is a significant increase of 104%. This is alarming. When a family tragically loses a loved one, does it matter whether by means of a gun or a motor vehicle?
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers all over on Redhead. Welcome back to Sir on the program. It's been a conversation that we've been hearing a whole lot during 2024, 2025. As we speak about Vision 75. Is one of the ideas of the administration in terms of its transformation process for Grenada. Speak to me in terms of how we looking forward. What are some of we looking forward for that in 2026?
Right. So one of the things we're looking forward to in 2026 is to fully implement the budget in line with Vision 75. And Vision 75 essentially is a strategic development document that encompasses several areas. But this administration, we inherited it from the previous administration, and we included some key areas to enhance it. It is in line with our own policy or strategy in terms of when we came in, what we met. What was not working for Grenada, we get rid of, and the elements that we could keep and work with and improve, we will do so, and which we have done. This is another example of that strategy. And so it really speaks to a number of key areas. I'll only highlight 5 for now. 1, the economic diversification, right, and innovation of Grenada. 2, climate resilience and environment, policies. 3, human and capital development. All right. 4, governance and institutional strengthening. And 5, global partnerships and competitiveness. And so it puts us in a trajectory to, of course, face the uncertainties on a global scale, because we do have them. So I am not just speaking here ignorant to the fact that there may be things that may offset the plans of the Ministry of Finance through the budget into next year, which is unforeseen and we cannot do anything immediately about. However, what we are saying is that in terms of diversifying Grenada's economy, it is going to help us, because there is a lot of play in some instances on the CBI being something that the Ministry of Finance is being reliant upon, but that is not true. In fact, this administration in particular, while we have seen an uptick in the collection of revenues from the process of citizenship by investment, there is no over-reliance on this specific initiative, simply because it has specific roles. It is a non-tax revenue structure, but Grenada runs its economy largely from tax revenue and does not over-depend on CBI to do so. Whenever it does contribute significant sums, these sums go back into the very capital projects that you see in and around the country. It is not something that is handled in a manner or fashion as if it's some selfish shop that we're running, and when we get a little extra money, it's just spent willy-nilly. There are laws governing this particular program, and we have only recently strengthened those laws around the program, trying to promote a more regional, comprehensive framework for its due diligence, among other initiatives. This is something that we think can grow in terms of a lucrative sector. Maybe even not now we'll see the benefits, but in the long run, if it is handled and managed and maintained well. So there's no over-reliance there. So apart from other concerns generally, Vision 75 allows us to put vision into action. And one key area is the enhancement of the education sector that we have embarked upon. We also announced the Youth Empowerment Agency. Now, that is going to be a game changer for the economy for a young person in Grenada. One of the things we desperately need to do is that young people, apart from the opportunities that are mundane and existed time immemorial, right, as far back as 2000 and so on for the young people, we need to change the game a little bit. And something as simple as just introducing or reintroducing junior achievement in schools and institutionalizing it there, so that the innovation that is spoken about in Vision 75 is captured by the youngest among us. And that is critical, because when you're at that age, you have a lot of energy and creativity, and that is when you need to actually take and make use of it, take it to the next level and make use of it. And so facilitating that is going to be critical for us. The other aspect is the area of health. We are confident, all things being equal, that we will be able to turn the sword for the medical village construction or commencement rather of the medical village. That is going to be another game changer. We have done one of two things in healthcare so far. The assessment completed with the current health system, that was done. That was completed, and we have begun implementing the recommendations systematically to resolve some of the kinks, some of the gray areas in our current health system. So this is being done, right? Another area is the enhancement of the community medical stations, yes. Right? That is also being done. There's always the concern from a small island standpoint of the availability of medicine, medication, even just simple things as plaster, etc., because we don't produce these things and we have to import it. And with disruptions from the global chain, supply chain, it will obviously affect in some instances that procurement process, which is something that we have to be mindful of and plan in advance for the disruption. However, we remain committed to improving that. So the vision to improve the general healthcare and make Grenada a medical city where we can import people coming for specifically medical procedures and bringing them into the country. It is called medical tourism. We see value in pursuing that policy, but at present we are also improving the gray areas presently with the health sector and situation. So all is not lost. It will take a lot of time to do these assessments. In some instances, you organize a pilot. It will have to run for at least 1 year or two to be able to gather the data, to know how to roll it out. And if you want to do it right, it is better to spend 3 hours sharpening your axe and maybe about half an hour to cut down the tree than to do the opposite. And so this is what we are doing in order to develop the country on a more sustainable path. And again, in line with what we believe Vision 75 should capture for every Grenadian.
Great. I mean, listening to what you mentioned in terms of Vision 75, and in terms of the diversity in the economy as a whole, which is important.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of development that can take place if diversification takes place.
Correct.
And sometimes we get that stagnant waters because things are always done in one particular way. And I think that's one of the, folks may not happy with me saying the little curses of Grenada.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You understand? One of the little curses, because things are always done in a particular way and we tend to follow that particular trend for a particular, and sometimes government comes and government goes, and for some reason they follow that particular trend of the previous one, even though they may seem to say they're doing it different.
Right. And that's an important point that you're making, because when we talk about change and transformation, this is just about 3 years practically in terms of this NDC administration being able to do the significant stuff that it needs to. Yeah. There is always the resistance to change.
Yeah.
Some people may say that your ideas and vision is abstract and it is utopia. It cannot be achieved because they are comfortable in terms of their way of thinking, how they do things. And so that is probably the most difficult thing to change. You could change governments. You could change a member of parliament. You could change whoever it is. Yeah. The fact of the matter is a mindset is very difficult to change, and especially when they make the majority in terms of being able to implement government policies. That is always difficulty. But we are committed to working with that, notwithstanding that, challenge is something that we in the National Democratic Congress appreciate. Because where we came from, 15-0 back-to-back is not an easy challenge for any political organization.
Breaks your enthusiasm.
It breaks your enthusiasm. People will become divisive and so on. So you have to imagine the kind of culture that you have to work over time to win. But I think having come from that experience, we are not resistant to the expectation that people would be resistant to what we bring forward as change and transformation. And so we've been working towards that. End the year is a good time to reflect. Yeah. And so, seeing in some instances, I believe a lot could have gone faster. What I would say is that, to some of the public servants, you have to try and understand the times that we are living in. I think one of the criticism I honestly get is as if, to an an extent, when you look at a public officer, and I'm not picking anyone, they are not interested in the struggle of people, and so sometimes the speed at which a politician may expect, because when the constituents come knocking at our doors, excuses sometimes just can't fly, and you have to give people straight answers. And so to a large extent it is easy to be comfortable and ignore somebody requesting some help for medical attention, some kind of thing. It's easy sometimes. So what I would implore upon public servants is that for 2026, let's try and be a lot more empathetic to that struggle so that we could achieve more together. If you have work to do, don't have the tendency to let paper stay on the desk and you go to it tomorrow and so on. Sometimes it comes across in a manner as if you don't care what happens, and
self-centered a little bit.
Even answering of the phones in the various ministries. Let's try to work on that. I know it's at Naya, and that might be difficult. Somebody calling to be able to get that. But the point is, in whatever area you can, try and brighten that corner. Public servants, people in the private sector as well, if you do have those attitudes, and it may not be deliberate, sometimes you just operate because that's the culture of the organization. You have to try and win that, because I think for us to really move forward, for us to do things in Grenada different than we have done for the many years, we really need a new mindset and a new attitude and approach towards work and getting stuff done. So in whatever way I can, and in particular I want to single out the medical professionals. I think for all of eternity, so to speak, they have always had major criticisms, but they have remained steadfast and withstand the test of times. They do what they have to do. I think the medical fraternity just lost one of the doctors. I can't recall her name right now, but condolences to her family and members. They continue to do a good job despite the challenges, and it's that mindset and energy that we need to see throughout the entire public service.
And just recently you still hear folks throwing out good commendations to the medical fraternity.
Yes, and it's important to say the good things too, because it's easy to just always say
the negative always
this
seems
person,
to overcrowd the good thing that folks do. From time to time we hear a lot of talk of the negatives and the behavior of certain elements within the health sector, and then sometimes you hear individuals talking about the good service that they have received, but somehow that get thrown out to the wayside, and not enough attention is given to it.
Because nobody wants to come and say, they did their job. People want to come and say they didn't do their job.
And they say you have to give those flowers.
Yes.
Still keeping on Vision 75, you mentioned 5 pillars, of course, that you spoke of. But I still want to know, what is that the emphasis, what is that key emphasis that the government per se will be putting a lot of attention to come 2026?
Right.
You spoke about the hospital, yes, but there's a lot of other aspects that is of relevant importance,
and still things that we need to work through to be able to get us to that point. So fair enough. So again, it is not some abstract statement, Vision 75. What we are trying to say, so take for example the human capital development or investment. Similar to the creative sector, one of the things we have observed is that if you organize the creative sector and do it in a manner where things are readily accessible and available, and it is in a sense one central point, it will improve the general outlook of that specific sector. So youth, next year we are going to be heavily focused on young people, not in a manner of this political aggrandizement to just give a man something for him to just relax and so on, but we are deliberately looking at the strategy of the youth, and we want to centralize some of the enablers for young people, right? Things like driver's license, all these other things. We want to be able to have a one-stop shop where young people can say, I have this business idea outside of the creative, but I don't have the capacity, I don't have the capital, I don't have the ability to put things together. Can you help me? So if a young person comes to you with an idea, how can you turn that idea into reality and into an economic owner for that specific young person, where they can then go on to hire other people and so on? So looking at it from that angle, that's one. 2, the general concern for most young people is that they transition between the levels, let us say primary school, secondary school, tertiary, and then the world of work is always difficult. What is causing and contributing to that? We don't quite know yet, but we're working towards that. One of the things we observe is that the lack of leadership development and training throughout our society for young people is a major concern.
I agree.
Right? Is a major concern. Because all these issues about them on the block and so on is lack of leadership. Because if they are organized, if they are mobilized, and if they are individualized in a sense and empowered with the capacity to lead themselves, their families, or in their workplaces, to go to work on time, etc., they would not fall victim to some of the ills of society, and then turn around to blame the young person and so on is just futile, because then the society is not contributing to the change in the mindset. So that is something that we have observed, and leadership development is going to be a critical part of that. You have seen in terms of how we do the youth parliamentary group, we actually allow them to go out, run a campaign and win. That is important, because you see, it's easy to say John Smith could become the next Prime Minister. What is the level of rigor did John Smith go through? What are the levels of the rigor? And if he didn't go through anything, he might run a good campaign, she might win, but when they get there, they capitulate.
It's a different ballgame.
Different ballgame. And so the need for us to learn, and even for some of us as young parliamentarians currently in Grenada, in the administration, it is something we want other young people to do. So when people say about this person getting involved in politics, GTI, being honest with you, we need more people to get involved in politics, and more genuine people who could do things for the country, because in that you have an absence or a vacuum of future leaders and leadership. So we need more young people to come forward, more young people to be involved and say, I want to learn how to be a good manager, supervisor, or whatever it is, to become and contribute to our overall development. That's the kind of things that
there's always a concept of what deters young people from this too. There's always that concept of what deters.
Right.
Sometimes what you see is taking place now, especially the bashing and all these things.
No, but that is not
a deterrent. You have to build a stronger background.
It is. But, that is not politics. That is not politics. It's sad. I try my best to remain focused. The people who tell me about these things are often people who themselves go and look at it, and family, friends, and so on, just try to say this person raising this issue and so on about you. But the reality is, if you have a mission and a vision, you're not focused on these trivial nonsense, because at the end of the day, it's just a means to create some kind of negative picture on you, because they're not able to win you otherwise, right? So my thing is, young people should not be afraid of that. The younger generations who came long before us, they had to take on world powers, all kind of other struggle. Social media posts about how your head look or some kind of thing ain't going to change. I am being honest with you. That shouldn't change you,
but
right?
It was not readily available to the extent in which is that no.
So maybe the initial response is probably what contributes to this overall concern. But we have to grow some backbone and spine, because we need leaders who not flustered if somebody posts something about them on Facebook and so on. We need leaders who are bigger than that.
All right. Yeah. Tell me, I still want to ask you one more question on Vision 75 before I take that break. And it's just my personal thoughts towards that. With all the projections, all the thought patterns that's gone through Vision 75 and how we want to project for Grenada to be, do you think Grenada is ready for it?
It's a good question, but I would answer it to say, and I'm answering for Grenada in the context that we should be ready for it. So I would say yes, and we have to be ready for it, because we can't delay, we can't wait. Take, for example, when we talk about resilience, it makes more sense for us to look at how the insurance companies are going to be able to insure the very wooden homes that we are helping people reconstruct after a hurricane. And if that is done, the government therefore would not have the burden to deal with that after every disaster. Because think about it, this is going to be a never-ending cycle if we do not come up with a creative way to fix housing. And I'm not just talking about giving a man a concrete house, because everybody in Grenada would not be able to live in a concrete house. It's just reality, your salary, the scale of it, etc. Right? It just doesn't permit you the size of your land, etc. It just may not permit every single Grenadian to get that. Well, we should try for it. But the point is, if that is the case, should home insurance not be something that we should tackle in a very serious and robust way to help improve that resilience, so that when a disaster strikes, a man could pay his premium and does not have to worry about rebuilding his home and coming to the government and begging and crying and being desperate, but can focus now on how out of that situation can I pivot into some new opportunity, something and so on, and the government will have more resources to be able to do more things. So Vision 75 allows us to think beyond the present situation, because in order for us to get to that point, we first must go through these experiences that we did. We had Ivan, we had Emily, and we had Beryl. I think that is more than enough experience to say we need to pivot. The government cannot rebuild all homes that may be damaged after a natural disaster, and therefore the best way to be able to respond to these things is people living in flood-prone areas, for example. They should be able to get reasonable amount of premium to insure their homes, that kind of thing. Things that can help collectively, as I mentioned. You have the government responsibility to facilitate, but you also have the private sector interest to come on board and contribute to this overall plan. So from my view, on our vantage point in the National Democratic Congress NDC administration, we believe that Vision 75, again, is not abstract. We just need to coordinate what we are talking about. This is a plan we inherited, as we said, so it is not something we are pulling out of the way. It was there. What was not being done was acting upon it. So this is our attempt to try and bring everything together, the stakeholders, the sectors, to act upon Vision 75 to make Grenada ready, because Grenada is ready. They agreed to this a long time, since 2013, and therefore what we need to do now is to action some of these things.
All right, great. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue with the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after the break.
I want to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it, and relax it. Eliminate violence.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Records at the traffic department shows that a total of 1,447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities.
welcome back. And if you saw us smiling, just that off-air conversation, myself and the Honorable Ron Redhead here this morning on today's edition of To The Point. Honorable, I wanted to just throw another ideas that has come from my mind that I have jotted down here a wee bit. We know, of course, as we enter 2026, there are going to be some significant challenges, facing our island. One of them would take us, which will take effect tonight. Tonight midnight, we're talking about the fishing banning and some being imposed on our fisher folks. Where is government on these issues? Because as we all know, fishing is a multi-million-dollar industry, right? And they sustain the livelihood of many people, especially in Petit Martinique and John and other communities. Talk to me in relation to that.
Yeah. So yes, and as you have noticed, the Christmas season probably overshadowed or eclipsed the majority of some of these concerns. But the government nonetheless have been actively pursuing to ensure that we do not have the impact that this may cause. I can't speak to the specifics. I would say, however, that the Minister of Agriculture and the Blue Economy, Honorable Lennox Andrews, will in time to come speak to it and will give a full synopsis as to the response. Again, we are in constant communication. What we have done so far was to amend the legislation. That was done successfully, and we are satisfied that from that vantage point, the major concern had been ironed out. And so we look forward with confidence. We want to continue to encourage our fisher folk not to feel stressed too much about the situation. Let's meet with you again into 2026 to reassure, to inform. I know the Permanent Secretary for the Blue Economy itself, just recently launched, is actively pursuing to ensure that this does not become a permanent ban, and that whatever the concern is and the challenge is there, we will overcome it. So the fisher folk can be confident in our ability to resolve this matter. It is something unforeseen, but nonetheless, it's been around for a little while, but nonetheless, it is something that we have dealt with head on and will continue to deal with. And you spoke about challenges, which the fishing ban is one. There are multiple others. And the role and function of the government is not to capitulate and get flustered and do a press conference every week and complain. And so sometimes, I hear people say that we are not accounting. But sometimes the truth is you can only account what you need to account in the time that the issue is resolved. And so if you're still negotiating, for example, let's say oil and gas, you can't come and say we found oil and you didn't have any concrete stuff to be able to sign on. So there is always some opportunity or leverage to give time to decisions that has to be announced. One thing you can rest assured, we will come out and announce when something is concrete. We are not going to hoodwink people. We're not looking for no political expediency on these national issues. I think all of us need to face these things together and see if it was something inherited. We are now at the point where we are attempting to resolve it, and that is what we are doing. But challenges will come, but we are prepared to face them.
But it's also important to be updated. It's important as a people, because sometimes it leaves you in that limbo stage.
But it's part of the mindset that we need to change. I think update is still, because it reminds me of COVID. There were daily updates in some instances, and the outbreak, it's still skyrocketed. I think sometimes the essence of the message, because too much of any one information will have the same effect of not having any statements being made. What we are saying is that on some of these very important and ticklish issues, what we need is to give it time to mature itself, and we are asking the public to understand that this is not something that we want to be featured on any social media post saying one and then there's an X and so on. We don't have time for that. We're running a country, and therefore we need to instill some of that discipline in terms of how information is flowed, and we want to be able to communicate correct information and not things that are just politically expedient and looking for mileage.
I don't think people are saying that they want the government to come and say something every week or every few days. But I'm saying is that, and I'm not even saying that they want the government to come and or give information about what they don't have.
Right.
If you don't have an X, you can't come speak about X. You understand? But sometimes that extended times in terms of information is dispersed. So it kind of shows you.
Yeah, and so we're trying our best to be able to account. This is why I say we have these platforms, and again, we commend GBN and all other media houses who give us the opportunity to speak whenever we are attempting to speak. So, for example, regularization is something that we are doing. We have updated the public generally in terms of information. Only yesterday or day before, there was a year in review program on GIS.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, I think people just get driven more by the sensationalism more than the issues that should be important to all of us as a nation.
I understand. Another worrying development, should I say, as we go into 2026, I would say is a proposed conflict on our doorstep.
Right.
With the Venezuela and United States. We have not heard back from government as to whether the request for the radar facility on our island is rejected or accepted. How is the process going with that, sir?
Well, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will speak to this matter in time to come. It is not something that individually, in my capacity, that I can speak to at this moment. However, I would say information will be provided in time to come on this matter, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be the channel to provide it.
And all our phones are going, but I do also want to ask you this. It's just some of the developments that I'm hearing, and I just want to hear from you, being, of course, the individual who can probably share the information with me. Another worrying development, as we seen over the past week, it relates to the for the dismantling of the CBI program. You did speak about that briefly a while ago, by the European Union, and as face visa restrictions. How is the NDC government going to handle this issue? As this area also brings in millions. You understand? The CBI, although you didn't mention, it's not what the government actually depends on a whole lot. You did mention that earlier. I think. Talk to me in relation, just in case that issue lands. We were not even put into to the magnitude as yet,
right?
But talk to me as it faces in relation to that.
We are pretty much satisfied that we have begun the diversification of such a program. As you may recall, the transition from just general CBI to IMA is a strategic move that is going to be able to pivot the institution that engages in such activities into a different direction, and not just have it as some little secret department within the Ministry of Finance. We have information on things and so on. We want to professionalize it first and foremost. And as mentioned, even locally, the resistance to change is something that we have to live with. Similarly, regionally and internationally, there will be a resistance to our own quest for practical independence. We have gained political independence through the various constitutions from some of the superpowers, but the economic independence is always tied to a particular nation, and so it is part of the process that we are always constantly overcoming. I am confident, however, that the CBI program does not represent a threat to nations in a direct manner. The IMA authority, the board, etc., they will be best suited to speak about all of the steps that we have taken to lay some of those concerns and fears down. But we are not in control of the final decision, and it is specific to visa. It has nothing to do so much with the dismantling of the programs themselves, and therefore we can also diversify. We can go out to the African nations if the EU, the US may have concerns. So I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that we're directly doing that, but it is a call for negotiation. This is something that has potential, and this is why I said that is the reason why we are not over-reliant on it, because of not even so much its risk, but because of the resistance to it taking root. What we are working on is a regional approach, because together as CARICOM, as Caribbean islands together, we are stronger. And so if we believe we need to negotiate for this, we believe the source of the strength is going to be from a Caribbean perspective and not an individual country perspective. So I believe that the heads of government should be meeting soon. I can't recall the date off the top of my head, but it is a conversation I am certain that they are going to have. Grenada, Dominica, I think Barbados, I stand to be corrected, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Nevis, sorry. They have all taken the steps to pass the regional legislation in terms of governing the security around the CBI. And therefore, I would start on that premise to say that we are confident that this is something that will help lay some of those concerns and fears. And again, dialogue. What we want to encourage is more conversation around it. We have no ulterior motive. We are about improving the lives of all people in the Caribbean, and this is a way of not taxing to get revenue.
All right. Also we saw last month Antigua government they dumped that Cuban medical brigade. Something our government has been asked to do. You understand? We heard the medical professional coming to Grenada from Ghana to Grenada and so forth, as Antigua is doing the same, I understand. Is Grenada moving away from the Cuban medical brigade under U.S. pressure?
Well, I can't speak to that.
If I could say
right, no problem, but I can't speak to that. Unfortunately, I do apologize. I have no confirmed knowledge that Antigua as a fact disbanded the program. I saw some articles in various publications online. I think Antigua will be best suited to state. So, but
just basically referencing
it.
For reference purposes.
Right. But where we sit, as I mentioned, we have no control over the decisions that will be made externally, that may impact Grenada. What we are saying is that internally, we have been building up our capacity to be able to treat with our medical situation in the country, in the context that for a long time, the sector itself had been underdeveloped, and very limited expansionary policies have been taken to widen the pool of the supply of labor in the medical field in Grenada. And I'm talking specialized supply of that labor, doctors sufficiently. And so we often have to rely on external factors. But if we get to the point where we increase that, recently the Prime Minister, the Minister of Education, they negotiated with SGU to increase the capacity for the scholarships being provided. And so we're getting now a maximum amount of scholarships being afforded to Grenadians. So this is going to augur well in the medium to long term. Okay.
We drew for a break. Let's take it. We've just a few more minutes left into this program, but we may have to take a look at other
of course.
So, because we do have the callers who may want to chime in.
Right.
Let's take that break. We're coming right back. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch it out.
All around the world.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
Records at the traffic department shows that a total of 1,000 447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities. 2,946 accidents were reported for the year 2022, which includes 8 road fatalities. This is a significant increase of 104%. This is alarming.
I'll tell you, master, I'm a Redhead. Girl, I'm a Redhead. I don't care now. Jump pull up in the area, pull up in a ranger. They wanna who's a stranger. I don't care now. I don't care about the neighbor.
When a family tragically loses a loved one, does it matter whether by means of a gun or a motor vehicle? To avoid accidents, drivers and pedestrians alike must exercise extreme caution when using the road.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers. We have approximately, of course, just around 6 or 7 minutes left on the program this morning. I've kind of take a couple minutes extra, and I will offer that to our listeners and viewers. If you would like to ask a question or two to the Honourable Redhead, feel free to do so. Centered around our conversation this morning. Let's go to the phone line. We do have a WhatsApp caller. WhatsApp caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
As for the next day, New Year, as we see it. Colleague Ron, I listened to you and you indicated that fish ban was unforeseen. But Ron, I don't think you said it, but it's simple. People being paid and they were not doing their work. Incompetence. A government that talks about change and transformation can keep the same people who allowed that to occur from since 2017 to amend the law to provide data. You cannot continue to have these people in the same position because you will get the same result. As it stands now, within the next probably 15 or so hours or more, the fish cannot be sent from Grenada to the United States. What has the government done? The government has indicated that they would spend $50,000 in sponsoring a billfish tournament. And that tournament does not benefit every Grenadian. However, well, I shouldn't say every Grenadian, the majority of Grenadians. However, fishing benefits a hell of a lot of Grenadians, both by way of nutrition, work, income. What has the government done? What has the government told the people of Grenada? Probably the fishermen are on their own because it's a private business. So they have to fend on their own. That is the message. However, there are opportunities. But you haven't heard anything with regard to someone speaking to the Elif committee to get fish to go to another part of the world. You haven't heard anybody talking about refrigerated containers so that the fishermen go out and fish today, tomorrow, the next 10 days, they can store their fish for a few weeks. It wouldn't spoil. You haven't heard that. Also haven't heard anybody talking about the tourist ships that come to Grenada to negotiate with them to purchase fish. As a matter of fact, they're getting wild-caught organic fish from the Caribbean. But you haven't heard that. So the incompetent people, whether they be permanent secretaries or otherwise, they need to go. In the era of change and transformation, you can't have the same people there who since 2017 did nothing. And you're talking about the unforeseen. It was not unforeseen. It was incompetence. I know you can't say it. You don't need to comment on that aspect of it. But the government need to speak up. Do we have refrigerated containers lined up so that when the fishermen come in with their fish on the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, they have somewhere to store it? Or is the capacity that they have sufficient to store the fish right now? We need to wake up and stop making excuses for things that are plain and straight in our eyes. One other thing, Brother Ron, on the question of this coal mix for roads, we got to get people who know what they're doing. Coal mix is used throughout the world. As a matter of fact, it's used to lay surfaces, miles of road, and it does not deteriorate. the deterioration in Grenada is because of incompetence in the work being done. It's not compacted, or the mix is not correct. Have a blessed day. Look forward to a better year.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning.
Yeah. Thanks, caller. Very pertinent. So good questions as it relates to the fishing sector. Rest assured, the Ministry of Blue Economy, they will certainly be responding to it as mentioned.
Okay, we do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. Let's hear from you. Good morning. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning,
GT. You know, I criticize you daily for that very kind of thing that you did this morning again. But that beside right now, I could go on that issue, but that beside, here you have a situation where a man who you bring on a program cannot answer directly, and that's what one of your first caller alluded to quite an extent, cannot answer with authority and directly to questions that are presented relative to government and the administration decisions, which is usually done in cabinet. So cabinet ministers has the responsibility and the privilege to answer the kind of question that run here now is so embarrassingly put in a position that he cannot answer. What kind of journalism is that?
Hold on, because listen, cabinet, so let me just educate you on this specific issue with cabinet. Now, you have to be allowed to answer. Cabinet, you take an oath of secrecy. Right? This is not a matter for cabinet. This is a matter that is out in the public. I am saying the negotiations in dealing with the fish ban, that is ongoing. I am not in a position, because it's the permanent secretary or the specific officers in the ministry that will give the response. But I just mentioned that the Ministry of Blue Economy is going to give the response. This is end of year. I don't understand what you're referring to in terms of not responding. There is no embarrassment here. There is no embarrassment here.
Mr. Redhead, you are a guy I've admired for years. I like to listen to you. I've listened to you on a call-on program where you was with Brenda for years ago, right long before you became a parliamentarian and such thing. I've admired you a whole lot. I like to listen to you. But there are responsibility positions that when a person is an authority, they are given the rights to answer. Now, here you have a situation where you have been fired from cabinet. You are in a position as a parliamentarian representing your constituency. And here you have been having to be dealing with questions as an NDC government representative. Because that's what you are brought there for. And that's where the problem is. I'm not saying that you just cannot answer all of the questions because you're not in a position with that of authority to answer it. I am saying you should not be put into that position, given your responsibility only right now as a parliamentarian. If you are going to be dealing with laws that you are responsible for, still being able to implement or bring about as a parliamentarian, I could understand you coming on a program and answering up to such questions. But most of the questions and the issues relate to government that comes from the authority of cabinet. And that's where you are put in an ugly position. I warned GT about that the other day, and I find that should not be continuous. Take care, gentlemen. I could continue for the whole day, as you might say.
Thank you, caller.
Thanks, caller. But just to add some clarity, caller, no, you have to be fair in terms of that. No, first off, this has nothing to do about firing from cabinet. Cabinet is, in a sense, a long historical process where you approve or you disapprove submissions. Right? That's what cabinet is about, and submissions from various governments, entities, etc. To sit in cabinet and discuss different issues is the prerogative of the Prime Minister. That is different. I am saying to you, this issue of the fish ban is out there. I've spoken to the minister on this particular matter. The party and the government in office have already put a position forward. I've spoken to the advisor on the matter. So there is no starvation of information. That's the point I'm making to you. What I'm saying to you, however, is that I am not in a position to say yea or nay if it will not happen, etc. We are approaching the first tomorrow, and these things do happen. Even line ministers, in my capacity, in some instances, are not in positions to answer issues as yet because they have not been briefed or or the information have not been flowed to them. So this has nothing to do with cabinet. So you need to stop that.
We do have another caller. Caller, you're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Jay, and good morning to Ron.
Good morning to you, sir. Go right ahead with your contribution, please.
You know, you spoke about next year, you know, helping other youths and to start a business. And if they have a good idea and they come to the government going to help them out get money. So I'm saying that even a parent, when the child comes with a good idea, they won't give them money just like that. How do you help youth is by looking at them and they start doing something, and you realize that they mean it's serious, and you help them. You just give youth money like I have to go and play the food. That's wasting money. Secondly, bro, the 500 project. Now the government spent $17 million in 17 houses. Only five what finished. Let's imagine that $17 million on 17 houses. Only 5 what finished. So the government is after low-income houses. If a house costs $1 million to build, how come it's low income? Where that more money go? Where that rest of the money go? I want to answer the question.
Thank you, caller.
No problem. First off, caller, listen, now, as it relates to youth development, I have never said this. I just gave one example. I have never said that that's the only thing that we are going to focus on. And in addition to that, how can you just say, young people go to their parents with ideas and they can give them money so we can't throw money? I mean, that's just infantile, right? Second, as it relates to the Project 500, $17 million was expended, but it was not only just to build a house. They had to build and put in infrastructure of roads. They had to bulk purchase materials, other things, and you had to pay the workers, right? The contractors. So it is a combination of what is happening. This is also a pilot. I remember there are a number of legal fees, other things associated with building a home, right? So, you can't just look at it from an abstract manner, and it is not $1 million per home. That is incorrect.
We do have another caller. Caller, you're live via WhatsApp. Go right ahead, please. Caller via WhatsApp, good morning. I think we lost that caller. Caller via the direct line, good morning, you're live. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, greetings to both of you all there. So, I'm listening for the longest while. I'm in the community program and talk and things. Where do you human get knowledge from? From a university, from common sense or education and wisdom? Where human get education from? Common sense, wisdom and understanding. University give a level, the study, and get a paper in any case, But common sense, man, I want to go to school and get knowledge. Knowledge comes from inside what the Creator gave man. Wisdom, understanding.
All right, thank you, caller.
We need some vision people, yeah? We don't need vision to go forward. We don't come a place we know where we're going. Government go, same, spinning in a circle. We need men with vision to bring enough forward, to put in a platter which we would survive and help the younger ones who have time to come. We have people in the wrong peg, in the wrong hole. They are no vision, they are no force, ever nothing. Those circling thing every day. Here go.
Caller, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's take another caller, which will be our final caller for the morning. Caller via WhatsApp, you're live. Good morning to you.
Good morning, GT, and how you doing? And good morning to you, Honorable Ron.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, definitely. I do want to, first and foremost, congratulate both GBN as well as the present administration and government for all they have done in 2025. I do look forward to a prosperous year, 2026 going forward. I must commend GBN and how they would have actually, they opened up Grenada, I would say. They did a fantastic job in opening up Grenada to the public and to the world, in that they had I believe GBN had a thing down at the Camahan Park where they had a flea market. They did the children in the Christmas program. Definitely, and they did a fantastic job. I also definitely want to like you, Ron, encourage young people to get involved in politics. It's a way forward. in developing our country. They are not the future, but they are now the present. I also do want to compliment the government on all the achievement that they have done. One of the hallmarks I do see, though, is that the work they have done in the Ministry of Health. Now, the organization of the Ministry of Health, it is far-reaching. It is not just what you see on a day-to-day basis, but that the organization that goes behind it, in terms of organization of the records, it must become computerized in order for accessibility and for proper treatment. Also, that would also piggyback on the pharmaceuticals that are being purchased, so you know exactly what quantity to do and to purchase and what quantity not to purchase. I definitely do want to compliment the Ministry of Education on all the fantastic things that they have been doing. I can see also the infrastructure seems to be going forward, and I definitely want to compliment them. All in all, I want to wish you, Ron, and you and your family, your mom and your relatives and siblings, all the best for the new year. Also, GT, I want to wish you and your family all the best, and thank you very much, and have a great and a wonderful 2026.
Thank you also. Thank you. Best wishes goes out to you also. Thank you. Of course, Honorable, that's what we're going to take a wrap for today. The lines are still going, but we have to put a cap on it.
Yeah, no problem.
I want to thank you a whole lot for coming on the program this morning. I know it's end of the year, and
well, I'm on holiday actually. Yeah.
I want to thank you a whole lot for that, and of course, and being as frank as you are in terms of your response to the question.
Yeah, no problem.
Best wishes for 2026 to come to you, and as a caller mentioned, to you and your family, and of course,
thank you, and same to you, sir. Yeah. Well, maybe just to wrap up, I would just say quickly, all the best to all Grenadians throughout length and breadth, wherever they are, online, social media, wherever they are in the world. All the best to you, and may we look forward to a productive 2026. I want to just make this last point that, it's easy to be on radio programs and call in every day, every week, and complain and about the same problems. But I want to encourage the two callers who give their, I would say, genuine criticism of the whole thing, to get up and do something this year. Do something to help contribute to your community. Do something to help contribute to your country. It's not sufficient to just sit and talk, because that is what we are teaching the young people. We need to teach the young people action, and I think 2026 is a year for action.
All right. Once again, I want to thank our listeners and viewers of Morning This our last program for 2025. Next time you hear me, I'll be saying good morning to you in a new year, 2026. All the best. Goodbye, folks.